Hello everyone, this is Sandra at the Whispering Well. So today's video is going to be a VR to Simon at the Hermit's Cave for his hashtag My Workhorse Decks. And there are 7 categories in this hashtag. And so I've chosen a deck for each of the 7 categories. Well, actually, I've kind of cheated with the first deck. Sorry, Simon. Because the first prompt is shadow work. What is your workhorse deck for shadow work? Now, the one I've been using a lot, and all my workhorse decks are, because I don't really have like a proper desk area at the moment, because stuff just needs to be rearranged, so I've got all the decks that I grab for at the front of my shelves. So this one is the one I'm using at the moment for shadow work, is the one that's at the front, and this is the Dark Angels Tarot, and this was one that I used to have but rebought. In fact, this one could go in the Hello Again category, which is number 7 in the list, but it's not going to, but it could do because it's one that I have rebought. But this is really cool. These are the backs, and this one works really well for me for shadow work because it's an aesthetic that I really like, and it I don't know, it kind of, if I said like speaks to my soul, that's probably sounds a bit dramatic, but it makes me look into things, look into myself, and oh, why does that image, I mean this image is like a powerful one for me, why does that image really like make me think of not always particularly pleasant things, or I need to look into that, why that isn't comfortable for me. But yeah, this one, and it's got a very kind of goth vampire vibe, and as I've said before, I used to be goth when I was younger, and whether that has got, I think that's probably got something to do with it being a really good deck for me for shadow work as well. Some of the things that happen to us in life that we don't always deal with at the time, and then you can go through a deck and it will bring up things, and that's what I find with this deck, and I'm so glad that I've bought it again. It's just a low Scarabeo deck, but I love it. And the thing is, although I'm saying I pull this for shadow work, I do, but I would also use this if I wasn't doing shadow work, but it is one that I do use for that, but none of my decks are solely for a particular purpose. I do use them for different purposes or different readings. So that is the Dark Angel, so that's one deck for shadow work, and I do have a second one. Like I said, I'm sorry Simon, I know I'm cheating a bit, but the second one is the Tarot of Crowley, and this is an indie deck by Christoph James. I have number 27 of, how many did he make? 500. But this, and this is an RWS based deck, this is not a Thoth based deck, but it's like a homage, I suppose, to Crowley. But some of these images just like stir things in me, you know, make me think of things. I think it's possibly that it's in black and white, and I know he did do another one that had some colour to it, but I love this. I mean, look at this. You know, you think, oh, that makes me feel, oh, but why does that make me feel like that? And again, this. So this deck is so cool. That always reminds me of Doctor Who, the Weeping Angels. But no, I mean, look at this. This is like this person looks distraught, don't they? But he's actually 6 of coins, but there is some nudity. Sorry guys, I should have mentioned there is some nudity in this deck. I'll try to go past the ones with nudity. I love this card because this is one of the sisters that was in the famous Cottingley Fairies story or mystery, where they said they were photographing fairies, and this is one of the girls from that. I love like the old-fashioned type images. I just think it's great for shadow work, and I love these really old Victorian style American houses. And Crowley himself is in here, but things like this, I'm pretty certain this is Rasputin. They called the Mad Monk. I mean, look at this one, and if you don't like clowns, that would be seriously creepy. But Crowley is in here somewhere. Oh yeah, there he is there, in that one. Yeah. And then we've got I think this is Alexander's the Witch. So that's the Death card, which is really cool. But this is such an amazing deck. I absolutely love this deck, and I have thought about getting the coloured one, although I think it might be out of print now, because I think this one is, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, so those are my shadow work decks, the Dark Angels Tarot and the Tarot of Crowley, however you want to say it. So that's prompt 1. Second is a deck you use for inner child work. Now guys, I know you're going to say, oh my god, how much more obvious can you be? But my deck for inner child work is the inner child cards. I know, it's like, couldn't you be a bit more, you know, but that is the one I use, and my deck is the first edition. So it's got the better card stock, and comes with the hardback book, and it comes in this type box. But I'll tell you why this is, because when I was younger I had a thing for fairy tales. I loved fairy tales. My dad, you know, he used to get books from Reader's Digest. If you're of a certain age, you might remember this. And he'd bought 2 volumes, big thick volumes of fairy tales. So you had volume 1 and volume 2, and saved them for me until I was old enough to be able to read them. And I can still remember it now, like it was yesterday, him going upstairs and coming down with these books and giving them to me. And I can remember being totally over the moon with these fairy tale books, and I read them to death, absolutely read them to death. And I was fortunate enough to be able to, because I don't have my original copies now, but I was able to go onto eBay and I found volume 1 and volume 2 and was able to repurchase them. So I've actually got them again in my book collection, which I'm really glad. But that's why these work well for me, because it takes me back to my childhood. It takes me back to the days when I had those books, the days when I would read those fairy tales, and you know, it brings back memories of different things that happened in my childhood. So these are like perfect. It is honestly the perfect deck for me for inner child work. Absolutely anything like fairy tale, but I love the colours in this deck. I love that they're big cards. I love the borders, even the really colourful borders. Absolutely. So this is my go-to, and it's always there on my top shelf, right in the front. My inner child cards. I would never part with this, particularly as I know the card stock is not the best on the newer edition. So yeah, that is my deck for inner child work. So next prompt is path working. So what deck is your go-to for path working? Now mine is in this lovely purple bag, Kelly Bear pouch, and it's the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. Now I do still have the box and I do have the book, but I keep it in this pouch because it's easy to grab. And this one is amazing for path working because I can really go into these cards as they speak to me, because they're of the forest. And you know, my dad used to work in forestry. We lived in the woods basically when I was younger, and I've always loved the woods. I still love the woods, and I can just go into these and like be there walking along this bridge with this guy, and look, you can see down here somebody there. Go into this card and walk up to this cottage and go inside and see what it's like, and see and smell all these lovely flowers. Go and talk to the oldest one in the woods. Have a look at the folly. And go into the woods in the dark. I love this lover's card. I always think that's so lovely, you know, like somebody lying down with their lover's head in their lap. Doesn't matter what sex. I just think I just love that. We've got bunnies. So yeah, I can really, I have to be on my own. It has to be really quiet for me to be able to do this. But imagine going into this card and going along with these little fairy guys. Where are they going? With their little lanterns like will-o'-the-wisps. Gingerbread house. I mean, in the woods in the dark. Where do these woods lead? Go and talk to this knight. What's happened? Why are you sitting there? And there is a card as well in here, which I bet I won't be able to find because I'm looking for it. Oh, and this one reminds me totally of my childhood as well, because there was a little area in the woods where I used to go. I used to call it my little like bluebell place, because I used to just sit there and read or something like that. I mean, you couldn't, now kids probably wouldn't do that because it wouldn't be safe, but and that's like Mole and Ratty, that reminds me of, out of Wind in the Willows. But also the Black Shuck card is in this deck, and I've told the story more than once about my dad and Black Shuck. So path working with that can be interesting for sure. If a little bit scary, but you know, and then you've got kind of joyful cards like this. So yeah, so this is I love this deck. I edged it in green to kind of match the backs. So yeah, so this is my path working deck, and fortunately I didn't ask Kelly to make this bag specifically for this deck, but it fits perfectly. It doesn't colour match, but I don't care. So that's the Forest of Enchantment Tarot is my deck for path working. Okay, personal growth. Now I'm sorry guys, this deck is out of print, but you know, it's what it it's what it is, because it is one that I'm using, and I guess like personal growth, as in there's lots of names and things that, and characters that are from the Arthurian legends, but as well as that there's a lot of gods and goddesses that are of the sort of more Celtic pantheon, so, and like a lot of the Welsh gods and goddesses, which will be of the Celtic pantheon. So it's really good for me to work with this and get to know them more. So it might not, I might not be talking personal development in the way, or growth in the way that you might see it, but for me it's growth in spirituality and knowledge in my preferred pantheon. So it's learning about these things and learning the stories behind them, which, you know, is growth for me, because that's all helpful along my personal path. See Percival's vision, Battle of Mount Badon, and, you know, Gareth and Lyonesse, Taliesin I know about, but you've got all the stories behind this, and it's so good to like delve into this. And fortunately I was able to acquire the larger book for this deck, which is also out of print, so I've got more information, but these images do speak to me anyway. I mean, I do have the other Arthurian tarot, which was my very first tarot deck, and I mean, you could work with them probably both together if you wanted to, you know, not mix the cards together, but do, like if you were doing a reading, you could use this deck and the other one combined. See, look, the giants dance like stones, like Stonehenge. So this is the one that I'm using for like personal growth for myself, as in, you know, learning more about the Celtic mythology, you know, and learning about the Arthurian legends, you know, all of that, because I love all of that. So yeah, so that's my deck personal growth and development, which again is probably not your traditional way of looking at that prompt, but it's my interpretation of it. So, you know, whether that's right or wrong, but that's that one. Okay, so Ride or Die. Well, the Ride or Die deck, of course, has to be the Pamela Coleman Smith RWS, otherwise known affectionately in the community as the Dirty Pam. This one is always at the front, always there. I didn't used to, years ago, I didn't used to like RWS, but I've come to really love it, and particularly this coloration. There is another deck now that has recently come into my life, which I haven't done a video about yet, but I will, and that one might take over from this, or be a of the same, you know, at the same level as this. They'll like be partners. I might use this one day and use the other one another day, something like that. But yeah, the Ride or Die would be the RWS, and this one in particular, but it may get usurped soon by another RWS deck, which I will do a separate video about. But yeah, that's my ride or die, because you know it's one where I know all the images. It's one that eventually I learnt with. I didn't learn with it straight away. I had my Arthurian tarot, but I couldn't really say that I learnt tarot with that, because I just used to tell stories with the cards, because I was only 14 or whatever at the time when I had that. So probably really I've learnt with the RWS. So yeah, so that is my ride or die. Now we have two more categories, the Hello There and the Hello Again. So the Hello There is a new deck, or fairly new deck, that you're really loving at the moment. And mine is the Tarot by Caro, which I haven't done a walkthrough of yet, but I'm going to. And this one I got recently when I did a kind of trade / gifting, if you like, with Martin over at Tarot in the City. I have put it all back into order, actually. I've got a thing about doing that, and so it's ready as well for doing a walkthrough. It doesn't matter if it gets out of order now. But this deck, I mean, just seriously look at that Magician. It's different, this deck. It's not, it's very RWS, but it's different enough, though, you know, the artwork. But I really love it because it's kind of, I suppose, fairly minimal, really. So, like we've got the Pentacles there, but I'm really enjoying this deck. And I know it's just basically, it is RWS, but I just think it's so cool. There's just something about it that I really love. So that is at the moment my Hello Again, my Hello There deck. I won't show you all of the cards, but because I will do a proper walkthrough of this, but it's very cool. And this is an indie deck, and I think it might be out of print as well, but again, I'm not 100% sure. So that is my Hello There, and my Hello Again that I'm going to try and work with again is the Chrysalis Tarot, which is its own system, and I gave up a long time ago. But these are the backs. But I love it though, and I am trying. Fortunately I do have the bigger book to go with this, which helps. But it is like its own system, and all of the names of the cards are changed. But I do really like it. I love the colours, the type of artwork that it is. It's just a lovely deck, and I really want to work with it, so I'm really going to try and see how I get on trying a second time. Another deck that I'm also going to be trying again with is the Dreams of Gaia. I won't bring it into the picture now, but I've only got the pocket edition, but I want to try and get what I used to have it, the standard size one. I'm going to try and get that again, because obviously it's got the bigger guidebook in it. But for now, yeah, I'm going to try my Hello Again deck, is the Chrysalis Tarot. So that's all 7 of the prompts, guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing these decks and the different ones I use for different purposes. Please join in if you would like. I'd love to see everybody's decks that they use for different things. as well. I'm kind of putting them all into my watch later list to watch. But yeah, and thank you, Simon, for starting this tag. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be back soon with a walkthrough, and I'll see you all then. Bye.